My 14-year-old brother-in-law was very happy on the day of my wedding. I always considered him as my younger brother, and he too used to call me Bobby Ma. A few days after my husband's death, I used to feel scared of sleeping alone, so I started making my brother-in-law sleep with me on the bed. It was winter nights, and it felt very awkward to sleep with my brother-in-law in the same bed. My brother-in-law was much younger than me. Even at the age of 14, he looked like a 25-year-old young man. I lived with great difficulty after my husband's death, but for how long could I live like this? That night, I thought that once my brother-in-law will try it. It was midnight, and I shook my brother-in-law, and he was in deep sleep. But as soon as I touched him, my eyes were wide open with surprise, because my brother-in-law's 7-inch penis touched me by mistake. Friends, listen to the whole story. It is a very interesting story, and if you are coming to the channel for the first time, then subscribe to Kali Moral's story. Friends, Aro was very happy on my wedding day. I always considered him as my younger brother, and he too used to lovingly call me Bobby Ma. There was such happiness in his innocent face and naughty smile that it seemed he had really got a new mother. But soon after this happy day, darkness of sorrow engulfed my life. My husband suddenly passed away, and after his departure, I was left all alone in the house. Aro was my only support, but still I was scared of sleeping alone at night. The cold winter nights seemed long, and a strange restlessness used to fill my mind. For some nights, I started making him sleep with me in bed so that I could get some relief from this loneliness and fear. Though Aro was 14 years old, her height and sensible nature made her look much older than that. After her husband left, somehow I managed to sleep alone at night. I kept struggling with this sorrow, but it was not easy to suppress the turmoil of my mind. That night, too, I was trying to sleep with a strange uneasiness in my mind. I suddenly woke up in the middle of the night and saw Aro. He was fast asleep. Innocent and still, my eyes filled with tears as I saw him. This little child had also lost his brother, and yet he was standing firmly with me. I remembered the words of my mother, who always used to say, "Son, always treat your brother-in-law like your son, but maintain a distance. When he grows up, the necessary boundaries between you and him will become more clear." The meaning of those words is now in my mind. It became even deeper. I had to take care of Aro and respect her innocence. Mother often used to explain that, son, maintain some distance with your brother-in-law and try that he does not come to your room unnecessarily. You are a married girl. You should take care of your and your family's respect. While listening to these words of Mother, I used to feel that she was thinking too badly about Aro, and I used to get angry at her words. But now that I had become helpless after losing my husband, I started understanding the meaning of Mother's words that night. Even when I was sitting alone, tears were not stopping from my eyes. Waves of pain were rising in my heart that my husband had left me alone in this world. I could never have imagined that he would leave me in the care of Aro. It was 12 o'clock at night, and Aro had not yet returned home. Perhaps he was with his brother's relatives. I felt some relief thinking that he had not come home. I felt a kind of relief in his absence. At that time, the impact of Mother's words was becoming deeper in my heart. Then suddenly there was a knock on the door. My heart started beating faster, scared. I wondered who it could be. But then I heard Aro's voice from outside. "Bobby, open the door, it's me." Hearing his voice, I felt a strange nervousness in my heart. I gathered courage and opened the door, and in that very deserted house, everything seemed deserted. Aro came inside and innocently asked, "Bobby, have you eaten food?" His eyes were down, and there was the same innocence on his face that was always there. At that moment, I explained to myself that Aro is just an innocent child. In that lonely night, his company and his concern were my support. It was ready. Aro had a bag in his hand, and it contained rice, brought from the hotel. He took out the rice in a plate and placed it in front of me. There was a glimpse of worry and innocence. On his face, "Bobby, I don't know how to cook food, but I have brought it for you from outside. You please eat something or else you will remain hungry like this," he said. There was a strange pain in his voice. He looked towards me and said in a choked voice, "I don't want to lose you after my brother." There were tears in Aro's eyes too. He considered me like a mother, and this feeling of his touched me deep inside, but still, Mother's. Words were not going out of my heart. He wiped my tears and said, "Bobby, you need not worry. I will be your support. You should never leave this house." My heart became heavy after listening to his words. He was talking to me in a very emotional manner, and his innocent concern in my eyes gave a glimpse of a new hope. Then he said, "Bobby, you can sleep in this room. The other room is under the roof. I don't think you should stay there." Now everyone knows that our brother has died, and anyone can come to our house with wrong intentions. I was surprised to hear such sensible words from him. I started thinking how he is able to understand all these things at such a young age. But still, there was logic in his words, and his concern forced me to agree with him. I went to his room. Rue's room was on the other side, while I and my husband always used to stay in the room near the terrace. As soon as I stepped into the room, everything started to look strange. Today, for the first time, I was in some other room outside my room. But as soon as I closed the door of the room and raised my eyes, there was one thing which made my eyes wide open. I was shocked Aro was 14 years old, and I couldn't believe that what he had done was not for a small child, but like a grown-up and wise man. There was something in his words that made me wonder about his innocence and wisdom. The child who usually looked small in my eyes now seemed like a mature and thoughtful person to me. As I stepped into Aro's room, I got a strange feeling. I saw how all the things that I had hidden reached there. All my things were lying in a mess, and for a moment, I felt that all this was done by Aro. I found this thing very strange, and I started thinking that I will question him about this in the morning. Then I dozed off and felt that maybe I fell asleep after eating rice. I locked the door from inside and prepared to sleep. I was not able to sleep at all since 2 days. But today it felt as if my eyes had become heavy. After eating the rice brought by Aro, I thought whether it was because of eating rice, but very soon my eyes closed, as if someone got a sleeping injection. When I opened my eyes in the morning, I saw that it was 10 o'clock, and I was wondering how I fell into such a deep sleep. I had not slept properly for 2 days, but today it seemed as if some sleepy thing had secretly possessed me. My heart was repeatedly thinking whether I had fainted after eating the rice brought from somewhere. I was thinking all this when I came out rubbing my eyes. Aro was making tea in the kitchen, and there was something in his innocence that was surprising me even more. What I heard about Aro at the age of 14, it left me in a deep shock. He said, "While placing the tea in front of me, Bobby, you went to sleep. You slept very well, didn't you?" There was innocence in his words, but there was something else hidden in his eyes. I felt very bad, and I replied in a faint voice, "Yes, I felt very sleepy today." He immediately said, "Then why can't you sleep, Bobby? I mixed sleeping pills in the rice." I had told my friend that my Bobby couldn't sleep, so he said, "Mix sleeping pills in the rice for her. This will help her sleep comfortably." His words surprised me, and "You have troubled me, Aro. How can you even think like this?" I said, shouting, "You wanted to make your Bobby unconscious." My heart turned cold. He quickly said, "No, Bobby. I just wanted to give you a good sleep. Now you, look fresh. Take this tea." He kept the tea in front of me, and I started doubting him. "Did you mix anything in it?" I asked him while staring at him. He said, while swearing, "I swear on God, Bobby, I had mixed the pills only for your sleep. If you say so, I will drink this tea myself. We will drink it half each." He took a sip from the tea glass. When he showed me the truth, I believed his words and thought that maybe he is telling the truth. I said, "Okay, forgive me. I get suspicious about you." But still, I looked at his face and started believing his innocence. But whatever I had seen in his room was not going out of my heart. There was no forgiveness for the person who was in that room. I thought, how could I believe him now? After a while, Aro himself opened his mouth, and his words shook me. "Bobby, I want to sell your jewelry." He said very seriously, "I have a well-known and honest uncle. He will get us a lot of money by selling our jewelry. We will buy a new house with that money. How long will we stay in this rented house? The owner will come to collect the rent day after tomorrow, and we don't have any money." I was shocked to hear Aro's words. Till now, I had not even thought about such a thing. But the way Aro put forward this idea, it put me into deep thought. "Samir, how did you get this idea?" I asked him in surprise. He said without hesitation, "Bobby, I also want to get married in future. We have to spend our lives together and need a new house. In rented houses, only people get humiliated and disgraced. There was something in Aro's words which felt right to me. I did not argue with her, but there was a fear in my heart that if she is not able to raise money by selling the jewelry, then we will be in more trouble. My situation was so delicate, a widow woman and a 14-year-old brother-in-law who was also naive. In this situation, both of us could be deceived. I thought maybe I should take advice from someone regarding this. I decided that I will speak to my parents. Maybe they could help me. But then another question arose in my mind. How did he get hold of those jewels, about which I had never even talked to Samir? The locks were not broken. Then how did he take out those jewels? This question troubled me. I said to myself that Aro is a child. He cannot do anything wrong. Still, whatever he did, I had to understand his feelings and situation, because sometimes his innocence and his desire to help led me to understanding. Aro had completely changed my thinking when I told my parents about the jewels. When I told him that I wanted to buy a house by selling my jewelry, he clearly told me that you are a widow now. You will have to come to our house. But I knew that if I went to his house, I would never be able to make my identity there. My brothers were slaves of their wives, and they never had time to support their sister. I did not want to spend the rest of my life dependent on others. I understood that this opportunity should not be lost. If I sold my jewelry, then perhaps I could make a new beginning and build a new house. My husband sold my jewelry. I was given many precious jewels in life, but when I saw the intentions of my brothers, I did not see any point in giving those jewels to them. Thinking this, I decided that now I will depend on Aro. Aro, who was a 14-year-old kid, had something in him that not only gave me solace, but also made me feel that he can handle my life. Aro, if you want, you can sell these jewels, I said. Aro gave those jewels to his uncle without any hesitation. 2 days later, Samir got the house papers and keys. Deal of the house, I could not believe that it happened so quickly. Usually it took months to complete the house transfer papers and other important work, but Aro did it so quickly and easily. When Aro put those papers in my hand, I realized that even at the age of 10, his thinking was like that of a grown-up. There was a deep understanding between his innocence and simplicity, which was very important for me. Then he said a strange thing. Bobby, we will clean the whole house, but I have to talk to you about something important. There was something in his voice that kept pulling me. I knew he was young, but it was very important to pay attention to what he said, because sometimes his thinking was much clearer and wiser than mine. There was something different in Aro's eyes that day. There was a strange restlessness in his eyes, as if he wanted to say something to me, but he was unable to bring out the words. I was not able to understand what he wanted to say to me. I was in a bit of a hurry at that time. We had kept all the things in the house, but now I was worried about where we would get our food, water, and ration from. I had never gone out to work, and now this was a new challenge. Aro saying that he wanted to talk to me about something important was confusing me. Was he wanting to tell me something that I did not want to know right now? This question gave rise to many thoughts in my mind, but I did not want to face these questions at the moment. In the evening, I arranged all the things in the house. We did not have many things, only the essentials. Our wealth was also very limited, and hence whatever we had bought, we kept it with great care. After doing everything, I arranged it nicely. I prepared the food with a lot of hard work, just like I used to cook for my husband earlier, keeping in mind his preferences and pampering him. After half an hour, I placed food on the table for Aro and started waiting for him. I did not think that he would go out today because he always used to have dinner with us. It was 10 o'clock at night, and Samir had not come home till now. This was very strange for me. Earlier, before my husband's death, he used to come home every evening by 5 p.m. and then would not go out of the house. Whenever we went out, he would come home by 5 o'clock p.m. He also used to come with us, whether it was to eat ice cream or for any other work. Many kinds of questions were arising in my mind, but I was not able to understand where Aro could be at this time. It was 12 o'clock in the night, and Aro had not come home. I was scared because he never went out of the house alone. I started waiting for him. And then in the darkness of the night, there was a knock on the door. I opened the door angrily, and as soon as I saw him, the anger inside me burst out. "Where had you gone, Aro?" I asked in a stern voice, "Aren't you ashamed?" "I am your Bobby." I was waiting for you, I cooked food for you, and you came out. There was a strange restlessness in Arrow's eyes. He was standing at his place and was not replying to my words. I was saying angrily, "Where do you go like this? You need not go out. You could have called your friends here." He did not pay attention to my words. His eyes were looking somewhere far away from me. And then without any hesitation, he said, "Bobby, I do not want to listen to anything you say. You eat your food yourself. Do not interrupt me." He moved towards the room in anger. There was something in his gait, if he was a big man, someone who was not going to back down from his words. I was surprised. He was just a 14-year-old kid, but there was a lot in his anger. I thought that maybe something is wrong, and then I stepped towards his room. I knocked lightly on the door, and as soon as he opened the door, there was a strange hatred in his eyes. He said without any hesitation, "Bobby, I want to talk to you about something." I was wondering, what is the matter? "Aro, you marry me." He said his words. "If you don't do this, then you are a kafir." My eyes were wide open after hearing this from him. I was surprised. How could you even think like this? I said, "You call me mother every morning and evening. Then what are you saying?" There was deep sadness in Aro's eyes, as if she had said this thinking that I would be able to understand her, but I was not able to understand much at that time. Her words were completely confusing. "The script sent by you has been emotionally changed according to Aro's name and her age of 14 years. Now what has happened? Who has spoiled your mind?" Such a cheap thing. You said this from your mouth. I was burning with anger. He was standing in front of me without any shame. With his hands folded, he was looking at me as if he had full right to understand me. I started feeling scared by his gaze. I became silent while speaking. Without saying anything, I turned back from there and came and sat in the room. I had closed the door properly. I was feeling a mixed feeling of both fear and anger in my heart. I could not even imagine that he could do this and would talk to me like this. I always considered him as my younger brother. This was the biggest flaw in my life. I had accepted his innocence to such an extent that I had accepted his innocence to such an extent. I did not have children till now, but still I always thought about Aro, that he is like my children. My husband also told me the same thing, that I am more responsible in caring for him than you are. But now I was shocked by his action. I felt very hurt because I had never thought that he would say such things about me. I thought that now I will completely ignore him. This house was in my name, and if Aro makes such a mistake again, then I will throw him out of this house. My husband has ruined this house a lot. It was made with love, and I was going to respect it. But if Aro himself breaks this respect, then he cannot live in this house. My silence had now turned into anger. As soon as it was morning, I started banging Aro's room door loudly. Then I realized, what should I do now? My mind was in a state of confusion. I opened the door and saw Aro's room was completely empty. There was no one in the room. Where did Aro go? My heart started beating loudly. I thought if the door is locked from outside, then it means Samir has locked me in here. This thought came to my mind, and then I felt a strange feeling of hatred in my heart. He was a 14-year-old boy, and his actions were so absurd that I was shocked. I immediately decided that I should go to my mother's house because I was not feeling well at home anymore. But then I remembered that I was still in Idat. In this situation, it was not right to leave the house again and again. With this thought, I sat quietly because I did not feel like leaving this house under any circumstances. It had been a month since my husband's death, and in that 1 month, Aro's behavior had become a nightmare for me. There was a big confusion. There was no innocence in his eyes now. He was not able to understand the true situation of life like me. If I had my own child, then probably I would not be dependent on Aro right now. I started thinking that if only I had my own child, then I would not have to endure all this. Now I had decided that whenever Aro comes home, I will tell him clearly that he has no right in this house. I will now completely turn away from this relationship. Suddenly, around 6 o'clock in the evening, there was a loud knocking on the door. I thought maybe it was Aro. But when I opened the door, 3-4 strangers were standing in front of my eyes. There was anger on their faces, and looking at their beards, I felt that they might be people of a particular ideology. Seeing their aggressive attitude, my heart started to beat faster. What they said shocked me very much, and I was unable to understand what I should do now. Those words were not only shocking for me, but they were heartbreaking. Their words left a deep pain in my mind. They said, "Bibi, you live alone in this house." I said, "Yes. Yes, I live alone." His reply was even harsher. "You are lying. This woman lives alone in this house with her 14-year-old brother-in-law. He must still be hiding somewhere. These people are dirtying this neighborhood. They should be thrown out from here." Listening to his words, my courage broke. I asked, "What have we done?" And his reply was even harsher. "What have we done? What have you done? You are asking this. You live alone in this house with your 14-year-old brother-in-law. What do you think? Your husband is dead. You are a widow now, so go to your parents' house. If you want to live here, then live with decency. Such people cannot live in our neighborhood." His words were pricking my heart, but I tried to keep myself calm. I did not want to mess with him, so I closed the door. When I closed the door, a deep hatred and anger was rising inside me. My heart was broken for Arrow because I was sure that he was the one who had done all this. He knew how people would look at me, but still, he continued his actions. I started packing my things. This house, this neighborhood, everything was now beginning to seem like a burden to me. Now it was becoming difficult for me to live here. I knew that Arrow had left no stone unturned to play with my respect. The only thoughts going on in my mind were how a single woman is considered lonely and weak in this society. No one has thought about how a woman gets her home and respect back. Tears were flowing from my face. I wish I could save myself and Arrow from those people. It was clear to me now that a single woman has no value in the society, but I promised myself that I will protect my respect no matter what. Also, I prayed to God that He maintains the respect and safety of everyone. Friends, this was today's story. What was your opinion about this story? Do tell us in the comment box. If you like the story, then like the video and subscribe to the Cali Moral Story channel and click on the bell icon and press all the bells so that whenever a video is uploaded, you get the notification first. See you with another interesting story. Thank you.